Okay, we have the definition for the return type, but here in the get antelope collection, we could also indicate a DTO that we can receive in order to filter the data. So let's create also a DTO so that we can receive the filters that we need in order to fetch the antelopes, okay? So we need to allow to filter, to pass parameters, like for example, if we want to filter the collection by name, if we want to filter the collection by location or by type, we have to pass also a DTO. So a DTO is the way that we use for communication among different layers. We can call that Antelope criteria transfer, and we need to define it. Of course, we have to add also this parameter to the interface, and we're gonna create this Antelope criteria inside the Antelope transfer file. Let's add another transfer with the name Antelope criteria, and let's define the property that we can have inside the Antelope criteria transfer. So we need to have the possibility to pass different conditions, okay, like the name of the antelope if we want to filter by antelope, if we want to filter by type ID. So we can name this property, for example, antelope conditions, and the type would be antelope condition that we're gonna create now. We still don't have this type, we have to create it. Then we should allow the user to pass the sorting criteria, okay? If we're gonna sort by name, by color, whatever we want, we have to allow to sort. In this case, we can pass a sort collection. So let's name this parameter sort collection of type sort, an array of sorting type, and you can see here that we can indicate that is an array. This type is an array of sort that we're gonna create, and we're gonna see how we can create it. And then we have also to allow to pass the pagination, okay? How many records, what's the current page that you wanna get. So we're gonna call this parameter pagination, and this one you already know that is of type pagination. Okay, now let's create the antelope condition transfer that we don't have yet. So transfer antelope condition, and here we're gonna set all of the properties that are going to be available for us to filter. In this case, we can take some of the properties that we already have for the antelope, like for example, if we want to filter by ID, by name, by color, by type, location, age, weight, gender, we can add all of these properties if we want. Okay, I'm gonna just add color. Let's add also the ID and location. Let's allow to filter by these fields, and then we're gonna give the possibility also to pass an array of IDs so that we can filter only a certain amount of antelopes. In this case, we can add the property antelope ID is. The type is gonna be an array of integer. We can also indicate the singular name of the property. The singular name would be antelope ID. Okay, now we have the antelope condition here. Then we have to define the sorting. So for the sorting, we can specify a transfer called sort. And this transfer, for the sorting, we need, for example, the name of the property. In this case, we're going to call it field and of type string. And then we have to indicate if that property is ascending or descending. We can use for that a name, for example, is ascending. It could be a Boolean here. And this type, we have it. We have the Boolean type. What else? So we have the antelope condition, and we have the condition here. We have the sort collection, that is this one, and we're indicating that we can pass different fields. And for every field, we can indicate if that field is ascending or descending. We also have the pagination, but we already defined the pagination. Okay, let's save the file, and let's execute the transfer generate. Perfect. Let's take a look at the class and let's see if these new DTOs were created. So we should have some antelopes here. You can see that we have antelope collection transfer, antelope condition, and you can see that we have antelope IDs, ID, antelope name, so it was created correctly. We have the antelope criteria, and you can see here all of the properties. for example, pagination, sort collection. And if we take a look at the properties, you can see that we also have the setters and getters. And you can see here also this method to array, that it can convert that object into an array, and then we can use that array to populate an entity, and vice versa. We can populate this DTO from an entity with the method from array that you see here. So we can pass an array of data here, and then the object is going to be automatically populated by the DTO class. All right, we should have already the minimum code necessary to implement the repository, to implement the entity manager, and exchange data with the other layers, and then we can begin creating our CRUD system for the antelopes. The same thing that we've done up until now, we should do it also for the antelope location and for the antelope type. The same logic that we're using here has to be used there, and I'm going to show you all of the steps for the antelope entity, and then as a challenge, as homework, you're going to do the same thing for the antelope type and for the antelope location entities.